A strong earthquake of magnitude 6.8 has struck central Morocco, killing at least 632 people, the country's interior ministry says. The epicenter was in the high Atlas Mountains, 71 kilometers, 44 miles southwest of Marrakesh, at a depth of 18.5 kilometers, the U.S. Geological Survey said. The quake struck at 23:11 local time, 22:11 Greenwich Mean Time. There was a 4.9 aftershock 19 minutes later. Many people died in Marrakesh and several areas to the south, the ministry said. The ministry said the earthquake killed people in the provinces and municipalities of Al-Haus, Marrakesh, Ouarzazate, Azlil, Chishewa and Tarudant, adding that at least 329 people were injured, including 51 in a critical condition, the ministry said. The ministry also recorded deaths in Yusufia provinces, as well as in Agadir, and the Casablanca area. Unverified video clips on social media showed damaged buildings, other buildings shaking and rubble-strewn streets. People are seen fleeing in alarm and some walking through clouds of dust. There are also reports of families trapped under the rubble of their homes, and damage to parts of Marrakesh's Medina, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Hospitals in the city have seen an influx of injured people, and the authorities have called on residents to donate blood. The locals are said to have decided to stay outside their homes in case the city is rocked by powerful aftershocks. Another man in the historic city described feeling a violent tremor and seeing buildings moving. People were all in shock and panic. The children were crying and the parents were distraught, Abdelhak El Amrani told the local media agency. He said power and phone lines were down for 10 minutes. The quake's epicenter in a remote area of the high Atlas Mountains was relatively shallow, and tremors were also reportedly felt in the capital Rabat, some 350 kilometers away, as well as Casablanca and Essaouira. Simple buildings in mountain villages near the epicenter may not have survived and, being remote, it may take some time to determine casualties there. Faisal Badour, an engineer, said he felt the earthquake 3 times in his building. People went out into the street just after this total panic, and there are families who are still sleeping outside because we were so scared of the force of this earthquake, he said. It was as if a train was passing close to our houses. Frenchman Michael Bizet, 43, who owns 3 traditional riad houses in Marrakesh's Old Town, told local media that he had been in bed at the time of the quake. I thought my bed was going to fly away. I went out into the street half naked and immediately went to see my riads. It was total chaos, a real catastrophe, madness, he said. The 43-year-old shared video of piles of rubble from collapsed walls in the streets. Footage on social media also showed part of a minaret collapsed on Jima Lfna Square in the historic city. And correspondents saw hundreds of people flocking to the square to spend the night for fear of aftershocks, some with blankets while others slept on the ground. Huda Al-Tassaf, a local resident, told local media he was walking around the square when the ground began to shake. It was a truly staggering sensation. We're safe and sound, but I'm still in shock, he said. I have at least 10 members of my family who died, I can hardly believe it, as I was with them no more than 2 days ago. Faisal Badour, another Marrakesh resident, told local media he was driving when the earthquake hit. I stopped and realized what a disaster it was, the screaming and crying was unbearable, he said. The Interior Ministry said authorities have mobilized all the necessary resources to intervene and help the affected areas. In the town of Al-Haus, near the epicenter of the quake, a family was trapped in the rubble after their house collapsed, the local media reported. The USGS pager system, which provides preliminary assessments on the impact of earthquakes, issued a red alert for economic losses, saying extensive damage is probable and the disaster is likely widespread. Past events with this alert level have required a national or international level response, according to the U.S. government agency. The Moroccan media reported it was the most powerful earthquake to hit the country to date. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz offered condolences, while Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi said he was pained by news of the quake. The earthquake was also felt in neighboring Algeria, where the Algerian civil defense said it had not caused any damage or casualties. In 2004, at least 628 people were killed and 926 injured and a quake hit Al Hoceima in northeastern Morocco, and in 1960 a magnitude 6.7 quake in Agadir killed more than 12,000. The 7.3 magnitude El Asnam earthquake in neighboring Algeria in 1980 was regionally one of the most destructive earthquakes in recent history. It killed 2,500 people and left at least 300,000 homeless. One expert has told local media he expects multiple strong aftershocks given the intensity of the magnitude 6.8 quake that struck Morocco late on Friday night. Jonathan Stewart, a professor of civil and environmental engineering from the University of California, Los Angeles, said he expected the magnitude of these aftershocks to be in the high fives. Another possibility, though very slim, was that Friday night's trembler could be a precursor to an even stronger quake, he said. Stewart said that while the quake was 30 times weaker than the 7.8 magnitude quake that hit Turkey earlier this year, it still released a tremendous amount of energy and was likely to do substantial damage. He said the epicenter of the Morocco earthquake was in a mid-plate region, which is relatively unusual for a major trembler. As far as where it happened to occur, it really is a roll of the dice, he said, adding that it could have been worse if the epicenter had been closer to Marrakesh. Even so, he warned that for vulnerable structures like unreinforced masonry structures and non-dental concrete, we can expect significant damage. The United Nations is ready to help the Moroccan government following the strong earthquake that hit the country, the organization announced Saturday. The Secretary-General was profoundly saddened to learn of the earthquake that hit Morocco today, which claimed many lives, Stefan Dujarric, spokesman for the UN chief, said in a statement. The Secretary-General expresses his solidarity with the government and people of Morocco in these difficult times. He addresses his most sincere condolences to the families of the victims and wishes a speedy recovery to the injured, the statement added. Meanwhile, France has expressed solidarity with Morocco and the friendly Moroccan people following the terrible earthquake that shook the country. Our thoughts are with the victims and their families, and we admire the work of the rescuers who are tirelessly helping the injured, French Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna wrote on X, previously known as Twitter, on Saturday. Shortly after the quake, the French embassy opened a crisis center in the North African country, where 30,000 of its citizens live. The officials have told local media that so far no French casualties have been reported. The United States Geological Survey, USGS, has upgraded its assessment on shake-related casualties from possible to significant casualties are likely. There was a 34% chance that between 100 to 1,000 people would have perished following Friday's powerful tremor, it said. The U.S. body also ramped up its assessment of economic losses. Extensive damage is probable and the disaster is likely widespread, it said. Overall, the population in this region resides in structures that are highly vulnerable to earthquake shaking, USGS said. While some resistant structures do exist, the most vulnerable buildings are adobe block and unreinforced brick with mud construction, it noted.